What up, Hyperchange? Welcome to another episode. Today we're going to be talking about Zoox. Amazon acquired the self-driving technology startup for $1.2 billion last week. This has been making headlines. I've been looking into the technology they're building, why Amazon would have acquired it. Want to cover all of that in this video. I've been very curious about Amazon's move into vertically integrating into shipping and logistics and transportation. The company spends tens of billions a year getting packages and goods towards us. They, clearly want to vertically integrate. There's been rumors of a ship with Amazon feature. They've been leasing a bunch of trucks, of planes. Amazon vertically integrates into everything, and eventually them vertically integrating into shipping, logistics, and infrastructure seems inevitable. They've patented flying drone or flying blimps that deploy drones to deliver packages. They have underground tunnel patents to deliver packages. They even have this little tiny robot thing called Scout that they deployed in a test to help deliver last mile packages. So Amazon been doing a ton of innovation and sort of working around the space of electric and autonomous vehicles. They're a huge investor in Rivian, the company that I thought they were going to acquire, which is an electric vehicle and truck maker. They've also ordered 100,000 electric delivery vans from Rivian, hoping to deploy those starting in 2021. Additionally, Amazon has also invested hundreds of millions of dollars into a company called Aurora Innovation, which also builds self-driving technology. So I've been very fascinated by Amazon and Jeff Bezos's, move into this space. I think it's clearly a vertical move, adjacent, makes a ton of sense for them to use their synergies of basically having to ship a bunch of stuff, paying all these shipping companies, bringing that in-house, researching cutting edge shipping infrastructure. We know it needs to be disrupted. I don't think Amazon wants their packages to be shipped with this massive, fossil fuel price tag that essentially every Amazon package comes with. If they could deliver it green, sustainably on electric vehicles, that's the future we're all headed towards. That's why I believe Amazon is investing in this. And I thought it was really interesting. We got a rumor from Bloomberg about a month ago saying that Amazon was interested in acquiring Zoox. I even tweeted at the time, no, don't acquire Zoox, acquire Rivian. But now it looks like they actually have acquired Zoox. So let's talk about what this Zoox company is. Founded in 2014, about 6 years ago, by a pair of co-founders. They were one of the hottest autonomous ride companies in Silicon Valley, sort of at that peak Waymo moment in 2018. The company had raised about $1 billion in total, or has raised about $1 billion in total, hitting a peak valuation in 2018 of about $3.2 billion. And now Amazon has actually purchased them for, it seems like, $1.2 billion. So it looks like there's a pretty clear steep discount from these large VC valuations that Zoox was getting for what Amazon actually acquired them for. There's other signs that Zoox was sort of struggling. In 2018, they kicked out one of their co-founders, brought in a new CEO, Aisha Evans, who had a career at Intel. We're going to talk more about her in a second, because I think it's really interesting to see that, not kicking out one of the founders, the other founder remained, and then sort of bringing in a more experienced corporate leader, and then ended up selling the company to Amazon. Additionally, about a month or two ago, during COVID and Corona-19, it was reported that Zoox laid off around 100 or 120 employees. So another sign, maybe they had to make sure they were getting enough funding, or the business wasn't unfolding exactly as they had expected. So what is Zoox actually doing? What's the company, product, or service that they're building? Well, according to this press release that Amazon put out, we are acquiring Zoox to help bring their vision of autonomous ride-hailing to reality. Amazon has signed an agreement to acquire Zoox, a California-based company working to design autonomous ride-hailing vehicles from the ground up. Aisha Evans, Zoox CEO, and Jesse Levinson, Zoox co-founder and CTO, will continue to lead the team as they innovate and drive towards their mission. So Zoox is really trying to build a robo-taxi network. This basically what Waymo's building, what Tesla wants to do with the Tesla network. Basically this idea that an autonomous electric vehicle without a driver would be vastly cheaper to operate. Zoox was sort of going for a different approach of they were actually trying to build, the car as well, not just the sensor suite, really do everything and come up with this new vehicle. It looks sort of like a go-kart kind of thing, which apparently was going to seat 4 passengers kind of in their own compartments, I guess with more corona friendly. So you could get in and have this ride sharing vehicle. But their whole vision is purpose-built vehicles for fleets for autonomous ride-hailing. They don't want to build cars to sell to consumers. They want to build these, cars that are autonomous that operates in fleets like a robo-taxi network. And so that's their vision. They actually had a permit and have been testing vehicles in San Francisco and Las Vegas already. In terms of the capabilities of the vehicles, they have a lot of cool videos on their website showing what the computer vision, I guess, of the AI in the car would see. They talk about how they're, building this car from fully autonomous driving, purpose-built vehicles, on-demand mobility. They already give a little teaser about the complex autonomous environments which they're navigating in, sort of bragging that they're able to drive autonomously in ways which no one else has shown. We are driving in cities and on highways, making unprotected lefts and and rights on red, yielding to pedestrians and passing double parked vehicles. So it seems like they're testing these on the road. I mean, they have footage of it. They're driving autonomously. How close they are to actually having a fully autonomous vehicle, when the service is going to launch, how they're going to build all these vehicles to actually create a robotaxi network. All of this is sort of, not talked about or not really discussed. There's no real time frames that I could find. So how far is Zoox from commercialization? I have no idea. As far as I can tell, this is really a totally black box. And I'm a little bit confused as to what technology that Zoox has that Amazon actually wants. Because if you think about it, they're already invested in the vehicle maker Rivian. They're already invested in Aurora Innovation, who's building, I would say, is pretty much a competitor. Those two companies combined to Zoox. And I couldn't figure out anything unique that Zoox had. And then I did watch an interview with Aisha Evans that came out about a month ago on a small YouTube channel, had like under 1,000 views when I was watching it. A bunch of interesting tidbits from that interview, one of which is how they actually build the vehicle. I thought this was fascinating, where she goes, we're not actually building it. They build it for us. They send us everything. We assemble it like Legos. Those are pieces of quotes from her interview, which I'll link to. But so they basically buy these, all these different parts, electric, skateboard, batteries, car components, get them shipped to them. They assemble them. They slap on these sensors, I'm assuming. And then that is the car that drives around and is training their neural nets. But that brings me to my biggest question about Zoox. And about all of these other self-driving companies is if you are not getting access to free data for potentially billions of miles of driving, then your chance to capture the edge cases and truly build a fully self-driving car is very, very low. That's why Google, who has, I would say, the leading artificial intelligence platform in the world, is able to be so successful because they have humans training it every second, typing in searches to their algorithm, clicking on certain results, literally training that algorithm every time they use it. Tesla has that same advantage. Every time you use autopilot and disengage, they're recording that. They can go back and train the neural network. It can learn from all of these million plus Teslas that are on the road, driving billions of miles per quarter, training these neural networks. Like, this is such a huge advantage that Tesla has. This is my theory of why Google's divesting from Waymo, because Google, the expert in AI, knows that Waymo doesn't have that flywheel of free data. Waymo literally pays engineers, pays for every mile of data. Tesla gets paid for every mile of data because customers actually give them money for their cars. Zoox is going to run into the same problem. They're already spending a massive amounts of money. They've raised $1 billion. They were only purchased for $1.2 billion, according to the Financial Times. So if you were a VC investor in this, you pretty much got hosed and you got screwed, and the company seems like it was struggling and wasn't raising or selling from a position of strength. And my theory is because A, you're burning a ton of capital, you're constantly investing. Every single mile that you drive your autonomous car, you're literally spending money for it. And the only companies who are gonna be able to afford to train a neural network and actually pull this off is someone like Amazon or Apple or Google with billions and billions of dollars in their war chest. So that would be my biggest question of Zoox, is how do they get around this data advantage if they're really gonna build these autonomous vehicles? And that's the other thing is Amazon really getting into the Uber Lyft business of moving people around? I think it's very, very possible. I even made a live stream about how they could buy Lyft and Rivian, I guess throw Zoox in there, and come up with some sort of robo-taxi ride-hailing network that they could eventually launch. But I think the real thing is, what does Amazon move around and pay tens of billions of a year to move around? Packages, stuff, the things we order. So I think it's a no-brainer that Amazon is trying to figure out delivery, especially this urban last mile, order in an hour, order in 2 hours, same day delivery sort of challenge, I think is clearly the future of the industry and where it's headed. And Amazon, with their Scout program, has been dabbling with micro robotics, autonomous vehicles to try and figure out this last mile package solution. What I think is so funny is in the New York Times article, like, Amazon specifically avoids saying that they're going to use this for packages instead of people. But then if you go back and look at the Aisha Evans interview, in that interview I mentioned, one of her quotes is that if you can move people, you can also move packages or something like that. So she even literally hints a month ago that Zoox's platform could be moving around packages eventually. So, I think it's pretty clear. If I was Jeff Bezos here, I want to get into autonomy. I want to get into last mile. I want to get into electric vehicles. And I want to do it to mainly move around packages, not people. So I think that is 100% Amazon's motive here. But my question is, what is Amazon going to do? They say they're going to operate Zoox independently for a while. I'm assuming they're going to have to give it, they bought it for $1.2 billion. They're going to have to give it billions more dollars to actually just figure out this technology before it launches. I don't know. I personally was very unimpressed with the technology that Zoox had. I couldn't really find anything that blew me away in terms of miles driven or, I don't know. I just couldn't find any data. It's really a black box of the technology that Zoox is developing. And the fact that they sold for Amazon at like a third of the valuation that they were 2 years ago, and they kicked out their original founder, I don't know. I'm just not really convinced that this is a great company. Like my favorite companies are run by owner, operator, founders. No offense to the CEO of Zoox, but, a person who's like old and worked at Intel for 20 years is like not, the exciting tech CEO with a hustle mentality that I personally like to invest in. And so I'm just super, super unclear what technology Zoox has, why Amazon needed it. The one thing I'm not scratching my head about is that Amazon's ambitions in transport to vertically integrate, get into electric autonomous vehicles are bigger than ever. And I think it's, in some ways a validation of the Tesla investment of, I believe Tesla is literally billions of miles ahead in terms of developing an autonomous vehicle network and technology. And this shows how much value this has. I mean, the largest shipping company in the world is dropping, hundreds of millions on Rivian, hundreds of millions on Aurora Innovation, $1 billion on Zoox, to just try and dabble and do R&D on this technology because they realize how big of a value driver it's going to be for their business. I mean, the first company that truly accomplishes, L5 autonomy and can have robotaxis driving people or stuff around is going to be a massive business, huge competitive moat. Only a couple of these companies are going to get approved first because they're going to need billions of miles of data to show regulators. The only company that's putting out reports about their safety of vehicles with billions of miles of data for the public is Tesla. So, to me, Zoox is years away from actually, autonomously delivering a package or people. And I think it's going to be a cash sink for years and years to come. So I don't know what the hell Amazon's thinking. I hope you all can help me figure this out. But my gut tells me this is not the last move we are seeing from Amazon here. I still think there could be another big acquisition of maybe Rivian in the works. But I love how this space is heating up. Autonomous vehicles, I think, this next decade is just going to be wild in this space. And to see Amazon continue pushing with all their money makes it even more exciting. So anyway, this is Hyperchange. Would love to know what you all think in the comments below about Zoox, Amazon, what's going on here. Huge shout out to our Patreon supporters, producers, funding the channel. See y'all next time. Peace. Almost forgot. Got to give a huge shout out to our new Hyperchange intern, Ben, for helping compile a bunch of research on Zoox. Thanks, man.